Welcome, and I'm honored to introduce Mikhail Gorbachev on this glorious day of May 21st, 1992. He is here joining me for an interview about his personal career and its effects on the entire world.
Здравствуй, брат, and thank you for this opportunity to enlighten the people about my views.
Well, I'm sure most people watching the show are aware of your position as leader of the Soviet Union from 1988 until 1991. I'm afraid that not all of them are enlightened enough to know of all of your accomplishments during your reign. Would you mind telling us about your time in the office and the effects of your administration?
Well, although I may not be as known as other Russian leaders such as Lenin or Stalin, I feel my impact on Russian history has been nearly as great, despite my having ruled for only 3 years. Although I believe in complete power with a single ruler, my policies were very different from those of the leaders preceding me. I strove to liberate the people from their oppressed past into a new and independent future.
And what was your first major action as the General Secretary of the Communist Party?
In 1985, I implemented my campaigns of perestroika that tried to restructure the Soviet Union. This major campaign was primarily to fight all corruption in the Soviet Union, as well as alcoholism. These campaigns were a series of liberalizing economic, political, and cultural reforms, which had the aim of making the Soviet economy much more efficient.
And how exactly did you implement your views in order to create this new society?
Well, in order to create a society that is free from fear and oppression, I felt that I had to end the pointless Cold War conflict. Peace could not have been truly accomplished so long as the never-ending threat of an atomic apocalypse hung over all of our heads. The President of the US, Ronald Reagan, seemed to agree with me on this issue. Together, we were able to put an end to our arms race, thus greatly lowering the threat of a war and increasing the prosperity of our people, rather than wasting resources on needless military spending.
But how did this end of the Cold War affect the Soviet Union?
Many people will argue that my policies, as well as the end to the Cold War, are what brought upon the collapse of the Soviet Union. It is true that the great nation that was the Soviet Union officially collapsed under my reign. This is not because of social uprising, however, but it is rather because of a mutually recognized need for independence. This marked the beginning of a new era of freedom and independence in the satellite states of the former USSR. I announced the changes to the Soviet foreign policy, where in 1987 I had met with Ronald Reagan and signed the Immediate Nuclear Forces Abolition Treaty. I had clearly stated that I would no longer interfere in the domestic policies of other countries in Eastern Europe, and in 1989 I announced the withdrawal of Soviet forces from Afghanistan.
And on December 25th, 1991, the Soviet Union was split up into 15 independent countries. How do you feel about this eventual rise of capitalist democracies in the previously communist Soviet bloc states?
I see the changes as being unnecessarily revolutionary, and I regret that we had needed violent revolutions in order to reform the region. That having been said, I feel that these new regimes have the potential to provide a new, more just and peaceful society, just as I had tried to achieve during my time in office. So while I find the bloodshed and political turmoil our countries had to undergo to be a great shame, I think we have greater potential now for success.
But what do you think about the current regimes?
Well, I think unfortunately much of the potential for freedoms the revolutions gave us has been squandered. Yeltsin has tried to consolidate power in the executive branch and has eroded the political freedom that revolutions seem to have promised us. I think this shows a trend that will terminate in a total failure of Russian government in representing its people if it is allowed to continue unhindered.
Thank you for your powerful words, Mr. Gorbachev. I hope your predictions of the future don't hold true, and that our region is able to achieve the goals and dreams you had for it. Thank you.
Thank you.